Hey everyone! Today I'm finally going to start reading the fourth and last book in the House of Night Otherworld series, Found. I am so excited to read this book. For those of you who are new at my channel, the House of Night series is definitely one of my favorite series of all time. I basically survived my teenage years reading the House of Night series. I read the first book when I was 14 and I just became completely obsessed with Zoe Redbird and the wonderful magical world that is the House of Night series. So I was obviously super excited when PC Cast announced that she was bringing out another series, and now 4 years later we finally have the final installment, Found, which is the last book in the Otherworld series, although PC Cast has mentioned on multiple occasions that she is leaving as she says, a door wide open for future books. So I'm hoping that this door eventually will be broken through and we'll be getting even more books in the series. But for now, I am going to be really enjoying reading Found. I hope that it is going to be as exciting as the other books. I actually have to be honest, I don't remember every little detail from Forgotten, but I was so invested in Other Neferret's story that I'm very intrigued to see how that is all going to play out. Guys, this cover is just so beautiful. I'm assuming that this is Zoe Redbird lying in a puddle of blood, which is probably going to be a scene that we see in the series. I'm assuming that this sort of wall that's been broken wide open is supposed to represent the other world that has, been opened, like the link between the worlds. And I think this cover is just absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what this is, but I am absolutely blown away every time by the artwork on the covers. I think that they're all beautiful. I'm just gonna take a quick peek at I think this is basically how the other books look like as well under their dust jacket. I absolutely love this pattern. The first thing that I'm going to be doing before I start this series is I'm going to be reading this fan Q&A. I don't know why, but I just feel like reading these Q&As before I get into the actual story really puts me in the mood to get into it. So I am going to get right on that. We'll be giving you guys updates as to certain things from the books that are gonna shock me, things that I found incredibly sad. I'm gonna try and keep you guys updated. As a general warning for this video is going to contain spoilers for this book. I'm going to obviously be reacting to certain things that happen in this book, so if you don't want to get spoiled, it's probably best if you just skip this video and watch my general review that I'm going to be bringing out after I read this book. So I'm going to get to reading. I got my beautiful Anna from Frozen mug, and I made myself a cappuccino, so I am ready to go. I've got my book darts, which are going to help me structure my review that I'm gonna make, and overall I'm just super excited. Thank you so much, PC and Kristin Cast, for creating and crafting this beautiful world. I am absolutely blown away every time I read one of your books. Just like my other favorite series, Vampire Academy and the Shadowhunter Chronicles, the House of Night world is basically a world that I can just keep coming to, that I will never get bored of reading. I genuinely hope that this series will continue for a very long time. I have just finished chapter 4 and I'm on page 43 right now, and it's so cool to see okay, I'm probably totally mispronouncing this. Skyetch and Shorus. I'm probably completely butchering these names. It is so cool to see the two of them together again. They were very interesting characters from the original House of Night series. I generally think that the Isle of Women, or the Woman's Island in Skye, has always been a very fascinating place to me because of the old magic and the sort of Celtic culture, which I think is super cool. And we also just learned that Kevin might be able to travel to the other realm, not using
old magic, but traveling through Nyx's realm through the guidance of Aphrodite's spirit. So we're gonna see Aphrodite again. Yay! When Aphrodite died in the previous book, it was so heartbreaking. I mean, obviously, like, Aphrodite in the normal realm is still alive, but I loved Aphrodite, even the other Aphrodite, and so it'll be so nice to see her again, but I also know that it's gonna be so heartbreaking because she's dead and Kevin probably can't bring her back. So he literally just said, I don't know how strong my connection to Spirit is, but I know one thing for sure. The love I have for Aphrodite is unbreakable, and I will pay any price to see her again. My heart. So I just finished chapter 6. I'm on page 66, and other Aphrodite has arrived in Nyx's realm, and I'm so happy to see her again. So something interesting that Skiach mentioned to other Kevin, that it could be possible for the grotto that is holding Neferet to be broken open through like sacrificial magic or whatever, and basically she was saying that it would require like multiple sacrifices that were done like willingly, and I'm calling it right now. I'm gonna guess that Neferet is going to get those 5 human girls that she meets at the beginning of chapter 1 to eventually like sacrifice themselves for her so that she can blow that grotto wide open. I think that Neferet is gonna come back out. I hope not, because she's like fucking creepy and evil, but I think she will. And also something else that I find really interesting is that basically Skiach was talking about how like Aurochs's spirit is kind of like sealing the tomb, and I'm just thinking like if the tomb seal breaks, like does that mean that maybe Aurochs is gonna come back? Like, because his spirit then wouldn't be like sealing her in? I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I am very intrigued by what's happening. Zoe and her and the Nerd Herd have basically just done the spell to like protect the grotto from vampires. What I also find really interesting is that they mention the High Vampire Council, and that is something that I was always a bit interested in. Like in the original House of Night series, the Vampire Council eventually sort of breaks ties with the Tulsa House of Night because they have like a difference of opinions on how like vampire-human relations are supposed to happen, and I've always been kind of interested in like the politics of the vampire world, so I hope that we'll see a bit more of that too. I also realized that this wall that I had previously interpreted as like the like door to the other world or whatever, I think that this is actually Neferet's grotto and that this is like referencing her coming out. So yeah, that is going to be very interesting. I'm actually like a bit confused, like is this supposed to be Zoe or is this Neferet? Also comparing Zoe to Neferet, you can definitely tell that this is more of an auburn hair color and this is Zoe's, or Zoe Bird's like dark brown slash kind of black looking hair. So this is definitely Neferet breaking out. This is probably like, or it could also be other Neferet breaking Neferet out who's in there, but either way that is like one of the Neferets. I'm calling that right now. So I just finished chapter 10 and I'm on page 110. What I think is really interesting is seeing how different like other Neferet is from the Neferet from the original House of Night series. I mean, we already saw a lot of like the differences in Forgotten, where, you know, we see Neferet go to Scotland and we follow her story for quite a while. But I do generally think it's very interesting also to hear about like how other Neferet views Neferet, because in this book she's talked a lot about how the Neferet from the regular world is kind of like a bit crazy and like insane and unstable, and it seems as if other Neferet, like while still being evil and like manipulative and stuff, is definitely a lot more like human, if you can call it that. Like even though she's very power driven, she seems to have a lot more like rational thinking, and she's a lot more reasonable about why she does things, and she's not like as blood hungry, I guess, as Neferet was. And I definitely sort of sympathize with her a lot more. Like, I definitely don't think she's a good person, but in like the grand scheme of things, I think that other Neferet seems to be a lot more redeemable than Neferet is. I don't know if she's gonna get like a redemption arc. I don't think so. She's definitely evil and stuff, but yeah. Also those 5 girls that have offered Neferet like their house, like Vanessa and stuff, they're so annoying. And like, as much as I hate, you know, other Neferet as well, and like she's evil, I will definitely like not be sad to see them die, if I'm being honest. I just got to the part where other Kevin sees other Aphrodite again in Nyx's realm, and it was just so cute seeing the two of them together. It really makes me just so sad to think about Aphrodite like being dead, but it was really sweet that they got their reunion. And other Aphrodite actually also said that she started hanging out with Zoe, or other Zoe, from the other world in Nyx's realm, and that also just like warms my heart, because it kind of just shows that like in whatever world, like they were always destined to be like good friends. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens next. Okay, so I just finished chapter 13, and I literally just read the scene that I was not expecting, which is that Lynette and Neferet, or better yet, other Lynette and other Neferet, have imprinted. And Neferet does this to protect other Lynette and to like create a bond so that like her blood will not be like that other vampires wouldn't want to drink from her, so that she's safe from Neferet if she ever breaks out of the tomb. And I actually found that to be really cute. Like, I don't know, like I kind of like their friendship. I think it's obviously a bit weird, and like she is evil obviously, but I don't know, like other Neferet is just so much different than Neferet. Like, she's so much nicer, she's so much kinder, she has genuine like deep emotions and feelings and stuff, and I don't know, like I think there might be hope for her. I don't know, is that weird? I think that her and Lynette's friendship is actually kind of sweet. I don't know if it's meant to be, but I'm sort of just like feeling it like that. Like, they genuinely have like a deep connection with one another. And yeah, it's just like really weird that she let Lynette like drink from her. I think that like Neferet would have never let anyone, like in a million years, like no one drink from her. So I feel like that really just shows like the difference between the two Neferets. And yeah, this is a very interesting turn of events. I just realized that the camera angle that I was filming on was actually wrong, so now I finally changed it, so hopefully my picture is gonna like fill the whole screen up now. But yeah, like Neferet has been broken out by other Neferet, and what I found really interesting is like seeing the two of them interact with one another, because you can really tell just how different they are. Other Neferet was like crazy scared when she saw Neferet coming out, and she realized that like breaking her out was like a huge mistake, and then she basically escaped to the other world again with Lynette. And I don't know, I genuinely feel like other Neferet like is probably eventually gonna realize that like her search for power was really wrong and evil and stuff, and I'm kind of like almost hoping that she'll like turn around and become good and like swear allegiance to Nyx again. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm very intrigued. The nerd herd, Zoe and the rest of them, and other Kevin and other Stark are now all going to the park to confront her or see what's going on. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, because it took Zoe and the nerd herd like a couple of books to trap Neferet and like get her where she is. So I hope that she dies. Like, I think she dies. I think there were a couple of hints that PC Cast gave in like interviews that sort of suggested that Neferet was gonna die, because I think one of the questions that came up was what happens to an evil person, like when they die, like do they go to Nyx's realm, or is there like an equivalent of like hell or something? So yeah, I'm intrigued by what's gonna happen, and I This is definitely going to be interesting. So I just finished chapter 23. I'm on chapter 24 now, and two interesting conversations have just taken place. One between Zoe and Other Stark, and the other between Other Kevin and Aphrodite. And I found it really nice that both Other Stark and Other Kevin were able to get like their closure with Zoe and Aphrodite respectively. I think that it was very healthy and good that they talked things through. I think it was also very important that Stark was able to learn, or Other Stark was able to learn, that Zoe doesn't belong to anyone. I think that the House of Night series does such a great job of delivering a very positive feminist message of empowerment, and you know that relationships are not meant to be characterized by jealousy or anything toxic. Oh yeah, another conversation took place between Other Stark and Casey, and you can definitely tell there's like something brewing there. Casey is also going with the nerd herd to the other world, and I would bet a lot right now that Casey is probably going to stay in the other world with Other Stark, and that she's going to be the prophetess in the other House of Night. And yeah, it was just like, these conversations are really great. I think that it gave the characters a lot of closure, and it sort of wrapped up the relationships very nicely. I think it's also very interesting, like, sort of like you have this other world and you have these like characters that act differently considering the circumstances. You know, Other Aphrodite fell in love with Other Kevin, and Aphrodite feels this attraction to Other Kevin, but she also, yeah, she's a different person. And I think it's just a really powerful message, you know, to say that our choices and the experiences that we live through, like, can actually change us, and we don't just have like this one person that we need to fall in love with and find, and like otherwise like we're doomed to like never experience love, but that there are multiple people in the world that we can make connections to, that we could fall in love with, that could be our soulmates, if you will, but that our choices and, you know, the people that we connect with, like, they do influence us, and we are dependent on both our choices and our environments and stuff. And I think that that makes a very powerful message, that you can choose who you love. Like, there isn't this like fate that's like controlling everything. I mean, maybe to a certain extent there is like destiny, but yeah, like our choices matter and who we love matters and things like that, and I think that's really great. Oh my goodness, so Nefer literally just walked in the House of Night front doors and she was like, listen, we have the same enemy, we need to kill her, so do you guys want to help me like summon Kelowna or not? And like, even though I really don't like Other Neferet, obviously, because she's evil, or like, I don't hate her that much, but I definitely don't like her, like, considering what she did before, but I kind of thought that was really funny. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like that was pretty badass. Is that bad? I just finished the book, and oh my goodness, so much has happened. So much happened in like the final couple pages, the final 3 chapters, that like I just need some time to process this. Like, oh my goodness. I'm gonna give you guys a way more structured and coherent review when I film it, probably tomorrow or the day after, but this book was so good. This was like the perfect conclusion to the House of Night Otherworld series, and I'm just so happy with how things ended. I was literally like crying earlier, especially when I read the part in the end where the goddess Nyx comes and like bestows everyone with like gifts and stuff, and I don't know, it was just so perfect. I am so beyond happy that Neferet, or Emily, finally got the happy ending with Lynette, and I was not expecting Neferet to be like young again. I thought it was beautiful that Aphrodite granted her a second chance, but I genuinely felt that would mean that like she would just like have all the evil sucked out of her or something. I wasn't expecting her to actually turn back into like the 16-year-old version of herself, but it was just beautiful and poetic, and that Lynette was also blessed with like being a vampire, and I don't know, like it was just amazing and beautiful and just like a great conclusion. And I also feel like this was kind of like also the book that finally convinced me that the whole Otherworld concept like wasn't that weird. Like, I obviously have loved every single House of Night book, and I have loved the Otherworld series, but I think at the beginning I wasn't so sure what I thought about the Otherworld concept. I felt like it was a bit weird, like having different versions of people, but in a way it makes sense, right? Like, that our choices matter, and like that there are different places where maybe we would have chosen otherwise. I think that in a way it's very beautiful, and it shows just how important like the characters' choices are, and how choosing love over darkness or darkness over love can really impact, yeah, your world and like how you grow up and stuff, which I thought was really beautiful. And yeah, I just feel like this was an epic conclusion, and as PC Cast said, she left a door wide open for more books. And if you guys have read the book, spoilers if you guys haven't, we now know that Emily slash Nefert has been gifted with the power to control old magic, which this is super exciting because obviously this is like gonna be very heavily influenced by whether she chooses light and love or whether she chooses hatred and darkness, and I am really excited to see what might happen. I know that PC Cast said that her and Kristin are probably not going to be writing any more House of Night novels like until the TV show comes out, so I'm not expecting anything anytime soon, at least not like in the next 2 to 3 years probably. But I loved this conclusion. I loved the sort of like that it was perfectly wrapped up, but that there was also something very interesting and like an extra thing that was added in that, yeah, like could then eventually lead to more books and stuff, and I thought it was beautiful. I fell in love with other Nefert, I have to say, and Lynette and their relationship. I'm unsure whether the relationship is purely platonic, or whether there's like more going on there, whether they're eventually gonna end up being lovers. I don't know. It's actually just really beautiful to know that there's just this love between the two of them. Anyway, but that is it from me. I am gonna go and write down all my notes because I put in my book darts. So I'm gonna go write like some more structured thoughts of mine, and I will film a video and get that out to you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. Please let me know down below whether you guys have found the last House of Night novel and whether you guys loved it just as much as I did. I thought this novel was beautiful. It is definitely joining the ever-growing list of like my favorite novels of all time, and I definitely feel like Found was the best book in the Otherworld series. I loved every single book. I loved Forgotten and Lost. All three of them were great, but I definitely feel like Found was just the beautiful epic conclusion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that each and every one of you is having a great day, morning, night, evening, wherever you are, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye!